Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining. My name is Kelly Livernoy. I'll be your host today and giving a live demonstration of how Bushel Farm can help you ditch your spreadsheets. Very excited to be here, and just a few housekeeping items before I dive right into the app. We'll actually be doing some live polls here, so please do respond to those as you're able to. That will help us make sure we're catering this time to you. There's also a Q&A section for you to submit questions. So if you have some as we're going, please do feel free to drop those in there, and I will do my best to check them out and answer as we go. If I don't get to those questions, please don't worry. We do have them recorded, and I will follow up with you directly to make sure that you have all the information that you need. Keep in mind this recording will be sent out, and those questions will not necessarily be on the recording. They unless we are answering them live. With that, happy to jump in. So I know today we have some farmers that have been with us for a long time, and also some farmers that are pretty new to us. So um, myself, I have been working on this product since 2016. I spend most of my days talking with farmers like yourselves on how to organize data and get actionable insights in software such as Bushel Farm. And this can do everything from simply getting the reports that you need for the bank, reporting to FSA, talking with your farm partners, making decisions or plans for next year. A lot of decision making is made with Bushel Farm. So I'm excited to show you how this might be able to consolidate some of those spreadsheets that you have hanging around. This app is 100% built with farmer feedback. So you all letting us know what challenges that you face is what is helping us make sure that we build the best possible app for you. It's very, very common for me to hear stories like I spent 8 years building this spreadsheet, and as soon as I push a button, it seems to fail, and I'm so frustrated. I can't access it easily, and things like that. So um, today I'm going to focus on helping you ditch those. Um, and just know that high level, when you are also able to get off of spreadsheets, you're gaining the ability with this app to easily work across as many farm partners as you need to at different access levels, administrators, managers, just contributors, tracking all that information together into the same platform, um, and being able to download that app from the App Store or Google Play Store, putting it on any device that has internet connection, and then also giving you things like timely notifications. So making you aware when there is decisions to be made, and we'll look at a little bit of that today as well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I love to start on this page just to show everybody kind of what we're building towards. When I think of ditching a spreadsheet, this is one of the top priorities that my farmers talk to me about is I have all of these numbers floating around, and it's my expenses next to my potential profit or my actual profit with my yields and all this good information. And so this can look like a lot, but what we're going to look through today is how the app is going to help you build this specific view without having to do too much manual entry. All of this really starts though with a foundation on the field level. So here in the fields page, you'll see one of the first things that we want to do is add fields. You can do this many different ways. I highly recommend if you already have a John Deere or FieldView account to go ahead and connect that and bring your shape files over that way. That way your boundaries are matching, and any information that you'd be getting from those systems um, are going to match one for one. Of course, you can always upload shape files or add those manually by selecting a shape on the map or dropping pins on the map. So pretty simple, straightforward, but once your fields are in, you're going to see a view much like this. So immediately you'll be getting all that good rainfall information that people love so much. And we'll get into a little bit more of that here in a little bit. Um, One big thing that you might want to do first is add your crops. So I've already planned out a lot of 2026 in my account here. But let's just say I was going to grab these 3 fields and plant, let's see, we'll go with corn on these. Corn, if I was to save that crop, it would add it to all of those at one time, and that's, one step towards my plan. So, foundationally, getting your field boundaries, your acres, your crops in here is one of the first things that we'll want to do when getting started for either the season or for, your account in general. I know we have some folks at different, kind of stages of your usage. Always know that I am happy to help at any point in time. So I think at some point we'll have a link that goes up, and if you would like to reach out and do a one-on-one session, we could absolutely do that to make sure you're set up for success this season. But let's go ahead and bounce back. So this profit and loss page, right? Let's start talk through how we're going to end up building this up and how we actually get it looking realistic, how we're ready to have that conversation with the bank this year. Um, you can see here at the very top, this is my full farm expected P&L, my crop level expected, and then scrolling down a little bit, my field level. So this is all based on information that I have put in so far this year for these specific fields. Land is coming from our land cost. Seed for chem is coming from the actual plans on my fields that I have. What am I going to plant? What am I going to fertilize where? The input costs that I have tracked for those, and then activity cost. So my field work, whether I want to attribute equipment costs, labor, fuel, this is really up to you and customizable. And then other expenses, meaning crop insurance or anything else. We'll go into all those details, but just know, high level, these numbers are pulling from other parts of the account, and you do not have to feel like you need to manually enter these right here. And then, as you can see, it's going to break it down. The revenue summary is coming from the marketing and contract section, and then the field summary is it's taking all those high level numbers and attributing it down to the field. And then here I've put in my expected yield, or what I hope to hit on a field level based on my APH in previous years. So here is where you could put in your, kind of goal for the year, and it's going to give you that, cost specific to that field and potential revenue as well. Speaking of potential revenue, there is this button right here. If I was to click, I'm going to include the unprotected values. So what that means is you can see before, I think I was showing 505,000 under or something like that. That's because, of course, I don't have all of my grain contracted yet for 2026. I do have some, but not all. And so once I click that button, what it's doing is taking any of the unsold crop and marketing that at the current price. So current corn right now, and that would show me what I would be at today as far as a profit and my position goes if I was to sell everything at today's market. So I know that can be really helpful with the bank conversations as well. All right, I will now start to talk to a little bit through where these are coming from. Here in the activities section, so this is once again, you're planning out your field work, and that is usually a good bulk of their cost on a field level and a crop level, of course. So here you can see quickly, I have this page sorted by field name right now. And I can see that I have $482 per acre kind of planned out for this field. And the way that I got there was saying that I am planning to do something like fertilize all my cornfields with this specific input at this specific rate. And I plan to do that around April, let's say. So that's exactly what I did when I was planting my crops here. I can optionally, I can assign it to somebody, a user on my farm. I can select what type of equipment that I plan to use. I can type some notes for a couple months from now, attach files. So once I log that activity, that is going to generate a record that looks like this, which is I fertilizing this cornfield. with the full amount of acreage, even though I can edit that if I need to. And then down here, you can see the amount that I plan to use on my inputs, for example, and that operational cost we talked about, like what the equipment, fuel, labor might be for fertilizing specifically. You can see when I made that activity, there's a lot of different options to choose from. So you can see in here that if I wanted to assign side dressing, if I wanted to log custom spray, any type of activity is absolutely customizable by you. And you would do that by clicking this manage activity types. That would bounce you over to your settings and you could get into detail there. So that is kind of logging an activity. And you can see here over on these statuses, I have these planned. So I did a fall fert on my cornfield here. The rest of these are all planned. Still able to attribute those costs associated with my 2026 crop. And if let's just say, this one specifically has a little notebook. That is where I have assigned work out. So I've assigned a work order to somebody on the farm. When they or I come in and actually complete this work here in a few months, all I have to do is click mark as done to change that status. Keep in mind that this is the same button on your mobile app too. So if likely you're going to be using a phone or tablet out in the field, that's going to be the same action. If you did need to change, like let's just say you actually only used 7.5 ounces, all you would do is update that. And then you can quickly also mark as done. Changes the status for you. It doesn't change anything else as far as like the cost associated with your inputs or the usage. All of that stays. So this activities page, the other way, obviously, I'm showing planning out the work and associating costs that way. The other thing is when you are connected to either John Deere or Climate, these activities do come over automatically as well. So the type of information that you can expect to come over would be the acres, it would be the rate used, and then and the cost associated would be done here in Bushel Farm. You can see here I had earlier attached, so this was one of those work orders that was assigned to me. I had attached just what the email notification looked like to me. This page can also be sorted a lot of different ways, which I appreciate. So that by category, all my fertilizing, I can quickly collapse and expand and do all that. By commodity, how much do I have in my corn versus my non-GMO versus my beans? By status. So if I wanted to look at just what was planned out versus already done, 64 planned, 13 done. Um, by date, of course, is really helpful when you're in season, you're out in the field, and you just wanting to look chronologically. And then these filters here, super helpful too. So being able to quickly see by field, by date, all that good stuff, by crop. Okay, so the activities page and the inputs page work very closely together because you can see these prices here. So on the left hand side here, this inputs button, you'll see I have already added some costs associated with the inputs that I plan to use. So whether or not I actually have purchased these or this is the amount that I expect to get, let's just say that it is the amount that I expect to get, but I haven't actually purchased this yet. I'm going to click in and I'm going to say, okay, this is everywhere that I plan to use this product. This is how much that I should use based on that. And this was my, original quote or maybe my quote from last year, but of course, like most things, we're going up. So I'm going to update that. That's going to quickly update the inputs purchase here. And that's also going to update all my high level numbers here. And then it will flow back into the profit and loss, of course, as well. One kind of sneaky great benefit to this feature and the way that we track the costs associated for you is that balance. So you can see quickly how much you've applied, how much you've used versus how much you've purchased. And so your amount remaining, right? Your inventory amounts should be calculating along with your usage here too, or your planned usage. Okay, so we've got to a couple things here. Profit and loss now, if we hop back in, we'll see that we have the seed, fert, and chem that I plan to use on those crops and the activity costs as well. Um, that is taking care of a good amount. I am going to quickly then show you the land cost. So over here in land cost, you can create any type of agreement that you need to, and then tag the fields associated with that agreement. So you can see I have a mixture of them here, and then these are the fields that I have tagged here. So, whether it's $270 on base rent, all of that is being factored back into my P&L on a field level. The other kind of big section here in this other expenses is the other expenses and revenue. So I've put some examples in, but you're going to have a lot more. What is happening here is anything else that you want to make sure is attributed to your full farm, crop level, or field level P&L. Here, when I click log expense, the account section is going to be pre-populated with all the Schedule F options that are on. But if you have extra that you would like to add, you can certainly do that. Um, if I was to just grab this one, for example, I can say, last week or two, I spent another 5,000 on repairs and maintenance, and that was to my overhead. So I log that expense. It's going to show up here, and that's going to attribute back into my P&L, of course. Similar to revenue, I had a program payment, or I expect to have a program payment, and that is logged the same way. Okay, so if we're bouncing back to the P&L, we're going to see that we've covered seed, fert, chem, activity cost, land, other expenses. So those are all the categories that are filling in there. If I could then just pivot here to the revenue summary. So the marketing and the contract section are what is going to help you track your revenue. So here in the marketing, this is setting it up by kind of what we call marketing crops. Some people call marketing profile. And so I've done that for a few of my crops so far. If we were to just look at corn, for example, this is the details. These are the details that I entered to get there. And then this is what it's provided me. So I know based on the number of acres and what I expect on average, this is my production. And then because of my crop insurance coverage, this is what I'm guaranteed. And then my cost of production, what once again I expect. Most of the time, we are putting in these previous year, right, and looking forward to next year and trying to understand, what my position might be in the following year. So this was my, let's just say, budget forecast. And then as I've been pricing out grain, or maybe I'm doing this multiple years in advance, and that's great too. Those contracts are going to update your percent sold, your average price sold, your profit as well. And then sometimes, most importantly, the unprotected amounts. So knowing based on the current market, what is my potential profit? And if any of my friends online today have these marketing crops set up, you probably know that you get alerts from us when the market is moving. So when the market moves up or down by 2%, you're going to get a notification like this one on beans that I had received. The market's on the move, and what does this mean for my specific position on that crop? By clicking that, I would jump right back in here to this marketing. So where does this 18% come from, and how do the contracts get applied? Over here in the contract section right next to it, this is where all of your grain contracts, cash grain contracts, should be tracked. So you'll see if I scroll through, I'm going to highlight this little yellow bushel symbol means that it's coming in from the Bushel network. So I know many people on the line are doing business with grain buyers in the Bushel network. That means that you are already using one of the apps that is provided by one of our customers. And the contracts that you see in that app are also going to be flowing here into Bushel Farm for you. So you don't have to worry about that manual entry. If you have grain buyers outside of our network, of course, completely fine. all you would be doing here is adding those contracts. So you can add your buyer, your contract number, the commodity, the crop year. I think one of the big things I like to make sure we highlight is that um, assigning to this marketing crop. So that 2026 corn we were just looking at where I was 18% marketed. If I was to be entering another marketing or another contract that I need to apply to that, I just want to make sure I tag that specific marketing crop. Another thing that might be worth noting here is that for farms that are farming together, multiple entities, it is very common for marketing crops to be set up to organize that. So, dad's corn, my corn, or a different entity name, you can certainly do that. And then as you're contracting against those entities, those can be tagged here as well. So, if we were to just look at a contract, you'll see there's the concept of the details that can be edited, as well as the pricing and delivery lines. So, if you have multiple on a larger contract, you can certainly divide that up. It should work as flexible as you do, and is the same as it's flowing from any bushel powered elevator. Okay, so P&L, if we're back on our profit and loss, now we're seeing that's how our revenue summary gets there. And you can, one thing I actually did miss in the marketing section, that is how we help you categorize where your revenue is coming from on a field level. So you can see this 227.10 per acre. That is based on the contracts that you have on your corn 2026 marketing crop. Um, so if I was to scroll a little bit further, I purposely left off this one field. I missed this field, let's say, or I changed it from one commodity to another this year. All I need to do is click organize crop and grab that 2026, and then it will recategorize that and put that into this corn 2026 crop for me. And so it'll apply all those costs associated and the revenue as well. So it's now included in here. I didn't have any yield expected, so I could drop that in and what my expected is. All right. Um, from there, I'm going to, I see here. Okay. Um, I did get this good question on um, John Deere activities. So, how would you recommend utilizing Bushel activities if you're using John Deere apps to create work plans? So, I have recently been looking into the option to bring the planned work in. So, if you're already planning out your activities in John Deere, that's great. Um, Currently, as the API works today, it's going to bring in that field work as you're doing it. But there is the option for us to do additional upgrades on that and bring in the planned work as well. So stay tuned. I hope everybody is always watching for product updates and announcements, which you can happen right here in this little information section. This is about the webinar, but let's just say we did that upgrade to bring in planned work from John Deere. This is one of those places that you could find that. So as of today, what folks are doing is either logging their planned work in here as well so that they can get to that profit and loss, or waiting for that activity work to come from John Deere and help build up this activities page and P&L, of course. Good question. Thank you for that. Um, okay. So we've covered quite a bit, but now that we've kind of talked about how this P&L page is built, hopefully you can envision the fact that this is something that you've done in a spreadsheet before, and the fact that all these numbers are kind of coming from different areas that you are already tracking. So whether that's John Deere or your contracts coming from grain buyers and all these different places, landing here automatically. I will say one thing people always ask is, okay, this is great, but my spreadsheet, sometimes I still need to actually export and get things out. Totally understandable. Here in the report section, you'll see there's a long list of ways that can be done. Um, and let me just highlight a few of them. So, accounting Schedule F specifically, I kind of touched on how in the other expense and revenue, you're able to grab those different categories. This Schedule F summary and detail report is actually going to do that for you. So it's going to total up different areas of the account, different, um, I want to say, expense and revenue types throughout the account. So up top here, you'll see I had logged my insurance expense, my what I expect to spend on labor. Um, it automatically pulled all my land agreements to do this, and then I had some repairs and maintenance. And then on my revenue side, I have those already booked sales, but then I also have what my unprotected value is at today's market. So it's bringing that in as a line item. And then I had that agriculture payment as well. So that is summarizing it. And of course, this can be downloaded any way that you need to share it, whether it be with accountant or maybe you're side by side with one of your accounting systems as well. The detail, Schedule F detail, that's just gonna go into even more, detail on each one of those transactions. Another one I think is that we've kinda covered today, this activity summary report. Um, this can be good for a lot of different reasons. What it's doing, I just grabbed all of my 2026, but you could certainly, by field, by crop, um, filter this down however you'd like. Um, and then here in the activity summary, so you're going to see everything that was done, the amount used, and whether or not there was any active ingredients. This is typically really helpful for any type of sustainability or traceability programs. If you just needed to download and send this off to a farm partner or one of your grain buyers. Let's see, another, this field season report. So this is giving you field by field, the acres, the crop, the yield if it was entered, um, your cost, any cost associated with both the activities and inputs on each one of those. Um, and so it's quite a detail on each field, and then this one can also be downloaded to PDF. So typically good when you're looking at your land agreements and sharing that with any landowners. Report of acreage. This can be super great for, of course, your FSA reporting. If you wanted to add your farm number and track numbers, you can certainly do that. Um, and then your planted dates and planted acres will come through as well. Market position summary report. This can be really helpful to share with farm partners. So if you wanted to quickly just see some high level and then download this to a PDF to send off, that is completely possible. Um, Spray logs. This is usually a really good one. I don't know how much spraying I have. I do have some planned spraying for 2026 if I needed to look back. That's possible too, but here's all my spray logs for this year planned anyways. We can come back to this. I think one other thing that I want to make sure I show you all when we talk about spreadsheets and ditching spreadsheets, one of the things that I've heard a ton is that I'm still using spreadsheets or maybe even a notebook to help keep track of my on farm inventory and my grain movement in general. And this is one of those things that could be super handy to know from anywhere, right? Hopefully, you're taking a vacation sometime in the winter, but a question comes up about what bin should I pull from or where, where might some inventory be. That is really good to be able to access from remotely from your app anywhere that you are. So this storage and loads feature is helping you keep track of all your bin locations or storage in general. For those that have been with us for a while, you'll want to know that we actually just added some additional storage types. So it's not just bins anymore. You can name your storage, you can group your storage, you can put the capacity of that location, but then also the current fill. So if you are just getting started with us, you probably already have some inventory out there. That's great. Go ahead and put in what you think the current fill is, or if you know exactly, that's wonderful. And then you're getting started from that kind of home base. You can always log a bin measurement in order to correct that later. So here, when you're logging a bin measurement, um, you would just say, I'm zeroing out this bin. Um, if I was to save that, that would update that and say, all my inventory that I thought was in there is actually not. Um, and then one of the really helpful, is this is tracking right from the field to the bin, then the bin to the buyer, or directly from the field to the buyer as well. So all your grain movements can be tracked in this one place. So you'll see here this loads tab is what's tracking all of the movements and at these different types. So whether they're going in, out, transferring those measurements, I can sort this by commodity, by ticket number, by date, all sorts of good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about, so if I needed to, okay, I thought I had corn in that bin, I don't anymore, but I do want to log a load now. And it is 11:32, and I'm bringing in corn, um, 550 bushel, let's say. And I'm gonna just pretend I'm bringing it from this field, and I'm gonna put it into um, this bin. I can select my driver if I wanted to. I could put in my scale ticket number if I wanted to, my moisture, my notes. I can attach a file to this, like a picture of the scale ticket, for example, from my mobile device. Once again, this is going to be the option. So I would just select take photo, snap a photo of that scale ticket to have as the record keeping on here. That's newer to this feature. Click save. And that I think I selected the right one. That would update my quantity. Where did I put that? In the loads. Here we go. Oh, right. Um, nope, right here in my corn bin. So there's the load that I just selected. There's the time that I put it in there. Now, market value is somewhat new as well. Market value is the current market price for corn, and it is just calculating that by the balance that I have in here. So it's giving me a good idea of what my net worth as far as on farm inventory might be here at a bin level. I am going to I got this great question that I wanted to put out there too. Does the storage talk with the rest of the reports? So, storage and loads is very much currently meant to be your on farm inventory. What it will do for you is calculate your yield on a field level. So, that load that I just logged was from Brianna Farms in Iowa. And if I was to scroll down here, you'll see this yield. I actually already declared this yield, but the yield here, the yield value on a crop level would be calculated based on the loads that I had logged. And so, realistically, in season, right, if you are having your farm team all work collaboratively in this app and they are logging loads as they are taking them back to the bins or straight to the buyer, those loads and that yield is going to help calculate. And so, that would save it on the field level, and that would then populate into your profit and loss here. So that is the way that the storage is talking. One thing that's not connected today, just to note, is the scale tickets. So if you are logging a load from your bin to your buyer or straight from the field, and you put that ticket number in and you take a picture of the scale ticket from the grain buyer, that's not necessarily automatically taking your delivered quantity from your contract. So this quantity delivered can absolutely be calculated, but the storage and loads is not necessarily impacting that quantity delivered today. I'd love to know if that's something that people would be interested in. Um, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are certainly always building this app to be what you need it to be. And so I have nice long list of all the things that would be helpful, but I'm always looking for votes on those. So um, hopefully that helped. The other thing that I did show was the reports. And so when you talk about the rest of reports, this load summary, um, I didn't touch on that one yet because I wanted to make sure we showed that storage. Here is where you could quickly pull by date range or a lot of different filtering options. I could say all my loads that were tracked throughout the state range. So you can see the details that come across here, including the notes section, which can be super helpful. And then I can download this once again, multiple different ways. All right. Um, Great questions. I want to make sure there's a couple different things here in the field section specifically that I think are super helpful to make sure you know about. On a field level, you are getting information such as rainfall and heat units. This specific chart is always super helpful to understand. So in this case, I just scrolled back, and I sometimes forget to mention that this little powerful year selector up here is helpful to hop back to previous years or go to future years too if you're planning ahead. But here in the rainfall section, you're seeing your actual amounts. You can see just since planting if you want, or whole year. Your daily, you can see in this view, the cumulative gives you against the 10-year average. And then down here, the weekly and daily totals as well. That is another report that is available, this monthly rainfall summary report. So you can quickly go back and say in 2024, let's just say you have some type of a claim you're checking back on or whatever the case may be, load that up. And once again, able to download, it does total it for you down here at the bottom, as well as over all the way throughout the month. And then you can download this and send that off and share that as well. All right. And then other things on the field level that I think are super helpful, the satellite imagery. This is typically great if you are looking for, high level pointed to go scout. So do you see some weed pressure? The satellite imagery offers both the true color as well as the NDVI, so the vegetative layer. If I was to toggle over there, you can see I can scroll back quite a few years if I was just to look back last year, for example. Yep. And yeah, once again, like if I was to see this little red area and I didn't expect that because you know your field's best, you might say, hey, is there some drift? Is there some weed pressure? Is there some stress over there, or maybe the deer have, have been over there? That's certainly been a claim that I've been helpful in the scouting or in the satellite imagery on. So that is there and included on a field level. All these great information, this great information that comes automatically with your field details. You'll see your activities that we talked about on a field level. Scouting, and the yield too. So this one specifically, this is showing based on the load that I had logged, and so that's the yield so far. I obviously didn't complete that, or my corn. Hopefully, it's more than 43 bushel, but I can either set that manually or wait for my other loads to come in to get the yield values. The attachment section, this is really free form. It's your file storage for a field level. So once again, if you are away from the farm and need to access something, if you're keeping it organized here in Bushel Farm, you should always have that at your fingertips. Loads, that's the individual loads we talked about. And then the soil maps here is giving you an idea of the base soil as well. Great question I just got, so I'm gonna take this one. Editing field activities. So if you come over here in your activities, I typically say it's a good idea to check on this, whether it be the end of the day, end of the week. A nice thing about activities coming from one of our integration partners is going to be the integration sign. So you'll see a little green symbol here. So you'll be able to quickly identify if that was something that was brought in by John Deere Climate, or if it doesn't have one, then you manually entered it. So you can probably quickly see, okay, this one has a green symbol, for example, I check it. All I would have to do is click the edit button and I can manually adjust any type of mistakes that might have came over. So, and then once again, from a phone, this is going to be a little bit smaller, but it still has the same buttons. You could just use this little three dot menu here to click edit and make that change if you need to. Hopefully that helped. If not, I'll make sure to follow up and we have the everything you need there on the detail. Um, the map view, so this is super helpful, obviously, seeing from a bird's eye view where your fields are laid out. You can click into them, you can high level see, what you have where. This is typically really helpful once again when you're collaborating with farm partners. Um, what I really like is if you are assigning work out, and then somebody was to click in here and they say, okay, real workflow. If I was in here, I got a work assigned to me. I'm looking at just the work that's assigned to me. I know I have to do all this planting. I know I need to go to this field. I'm actually, hopefully this works well, but this is exactly how it would look like if I was on my mobile device or tablet. If I was to say, okay, I need to go plant this field with this many seeds, this specific seed, I'm going to click on that and then I'm going to start the navigation. So this button is going to pop me out to whatever my mobile device uses for navigation. And then it'll give me directions to that field boundary. And then, of course, I can see what that boundary is too, so that I know that it's not, this section over here or all the way to the road or whatever the case may be. Okay, so we've talked about profit and loss and how that helps ditch your spreadsheets, all these different where it comes from and how you can report out and ditch spreadsheets that way. One big thing that we haven't talked about that I've been getting a lot of questions on lately is our wallet functionality. So in this account specifically, I don't have my wallet set up yet, but you might be seeing this if you haven't already um, set one up yourself. This is the account where it is a fully liquid Bushel business account. You can connect different bank accounts so that you can easily transfer money anywhere you need to. This current account is paying the 2.75 interest right now. And there is different options when you have different tiers of Bushel Farms, the different plans. You can gain up to $400 cash back when you have this account as well. Keep in mind, it is an account provided by the bank corp. It is insured up to 5 million, um, and it is fully liquid. So there is a debit card attached to this, and we are soon going to be introducing mobile check deposit. So I just switched over my screen to an account that actually has a wallet connected, so you can see what that would look like if you did have one set up with us. So what this, you'll see the tabs. I have my overview, my requests, my transactions, and then soon to come would be my checks. And that's where, if I was to be depositing checks out, that's where those would live. I have not set up my debit card in this yet, so I could get started to go do that. That would issue that. So any funds in my Bushel business account could be accessed through um, the debit card. And then this is also showing what bank accounts I have connected. So this plaid checking, this Gate City checking or bank account is one that I have connected. And that just means that I can easily move money to that bank account or from that bank account. The other huge value add here is once again for our folks on the line that have a grain, sorry, a grain buyer in our network, somebody who is getting paid by them in settlements and into a Bushel business account already. That money can land right here and start gaining that 2.75% right away. But then also you can quickly move that if you need to um, into paying a loan or transferring to a bank. I know one of the stories that I hear quite a bit is that the entity management. So if you all farm together and some transactions need to happen from bank to bank, there's a lot of check writing happening there, which is, manual and sometimes, labor intensive, requires a trip to the bank. Hopefully, you could save that time on the road, save that time away from the farm, and just simply move your money digitally. So that is exactly what can you can do here: deposit and transfer, and then much like a lot of other options out there, you can simply send or request money. So if I needed to request money from Bushel Farm, for example, I could send or I could request. Let's just say I want to request $50, and this is for promo, and I can put an attachment. So let's just say I was charging for some custom work I did down the road to my neighbor. I could attach a file, whether it be an invoice or some type of proof. You could certainly do that, request that. It's going to, oh, I'm probably need to do, I've been logged out for a while and our banking transactions are so secure. They want to make sure that we're signed in all the time. Those transactions or those requests will show up in these sections here. One newer piece of functionality is our being able to link a line of credit. So you'll see here I have my CFA input financing loan with Golden Valley connected. And then I do have some child loans underneath that, so I can see my balance on each one of those. And in that transfer and pay, I was able to pay off one of those loans with my funds in my Bushel business account if I wanted to or needed to. All right. I know we have been at this for quite a while. I appreciate everybody's time and focus. I hope I didn't miss anything. I hope we talked a lot. And you saw in some of these cases throughout, you can find a way to replace one of your spreadsheets with here. So there's a living, breathing option for you to get this information. One thing is, I think a lot of you probably already know, but here in the users section up in your settings is where you would add your farm partners so that you can all be accessing this at the same time. Oh, sharing my wrong screen. There we go. You can be accessing this all together. I clicked here, I clicked manage users. This is also where you can self select which plan you would like. So this farm plan is completely free with a wallet. That's great. A lot of the functionality we looked at today was in the essentials plan and in the enterprise plan, which do come with discounts when you have that wallet. So that's wonderful. And then you can simply just come down here and enter payment method to self-select. For the folks that we have watching that are not haven't already tried this out or don't have this access, highly encourage you to get in here and play around. Highly encourage you to reach out if you need any help at all. And we want to make sure that you can get the most out of those free trial. Or if, let's just say, you're on one of the middle tiers and you're looking to test out some of the higher tiers, please do get in touch. We can certainly help you get going on those and getting 30 days in before you have your season kickoff. Now is the perfect time, I promise, to play around. And then, please, if anybody is going to be down in San Antonio next week already at the Commodity Classic, come and see us. Stop by and say hi. 1357 is our booth number. If you're not going to be there, but you have some friends that are, send them our way and tell them that they should come get the same demo you did. Don't forget, this is recorded. It will be sent out after. And thank you so very much for taking the time today with us. And please do reach out. Good luck this season.